Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule
รายการของเรามีให้หลายภาษาโปรดดู suprememastertv.com/schedule
The path to freedom revealed itself to Frederick when, at age 12, he was moved to another plantation, and there the property owner's wife, Sophia Auld, began to secretly teach him to read. The Honourable Frederick Douglass, An American Story, Part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Vegan, contributor of world peace.
Lovely to see you, bright viewers. I'm Daniel. The faithful British people wish that you may continuously thrive in God's wisdom and positive energy. Today is the 4th of July, also known as Independence Day, in the United States, which commemorates the passage of the Declaration of Independence by the Continental Congress on July the 4th, 1776. To celebrate this special day, we invite you to join us for part 1 of a 2-part series entitled The Honourable Frederick Douglass, an American story about a prominent and influential social reformer in American history. In his twilight years, Frederick Douglass became the first African American to serve in the cabinet of the United States, holding the position of Minister to the Republic of Haiti. His commanding demeanor as a leader, his natural skills as an orator, his sharp intellect, and his acute personal understanding of the suffering that African Americans endured, having himself been born into slavery, earned him the respect of the public and his colleagues. He was a major contributor to the rise of the abolitionist political movement that played a major role in the eventual delivery of the Emancipation Proclamation and the abolition of slavery in the United States. It is an interesting fact that Frederick Douglass was the most photographed person in the world during the 19th century, even exceeding His Excellency Abraham Lincoln in the number of portraits he posed for. The continuing legacy of Frederick Douglass's life was highly apparent in June 2021, when the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, His Excellency Boris Johnson, who is also a Shining World Leadership for Caring Award laureate, gifted US President Joe Biden a framed photograph of an Edinburgh mural depicting the Honourable Frederick Douglass, the mural of the American abolitionist pioneer, which was painted by Scottish artist Ross Blair, serves as a timely reminder of the fundamental principles that these statesmen of two of the foremost democracies in the world must strive to uphold. equality for all, a value which Frederick Douglass dedicated his life's work to. As is the case with almost all of the approximately 4 million African Americans of that era, Frederick Douglass's precise birthday is unknown, but it is estimated to be between the years 1817 and 1818. He later began the habit of celebrating it annually on February the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, partly in tribute to his mother, Harriet Bailey. He distinctly remembered her rocking him to sleep as an infant with the comforting words, "My Valentine." Frederick was briefly separated from his mother during his infancy and later placed in the care of his grandmother, who lived in a humble one-room shack in a place named Tuckahoe on a plantation in Talbot County, Maryland. Being a slave, Harriet had no say when she was moved to another property to work, and only sporadically saw her son over the years before passing away when Frederick was about 7 years old. Frederick never knew for certain who his father was. As a youngster, he spent 6 relatively carefree years in Tuckahoe, playing in the fields near the shores of Chesapeake Bay under the watchful eyes of his grandparents. This idyllic life ended abruptly when he was assigned as a personal slave to the plantation owner's similarly aged son. He quickly came to understand what his future life would entail, experiencing subjugation and drudgery under the absolute control of the plantation owner. Every day he witnessed the inhumane reality of slavery, and the brutal caning of his aunt was etched upon his memory for life. The path to freedom revealed itself to Frederick when, at age 12, he was moved to another plantation. And there, the property owner's wife, Sophia Auld, began to secretly teach him to read, even though to educate a slave was strictly forbidden. Procuring the homework of the Auld children became a secret delight, until the master of the house, Mr. Hugh Auld, put a stop to it. Nonetheless, the seeds of his future had been sown. Frederick already felt as if the keys to knowledge of the outside world were well within his grasp. This childhood time spent in Baltimore had a tremendous impact on his future life. Frederick lived in Hugh Auld's household for about 7 years. He had already learned the alphabet and was determined to learn how to read. He gave up his own food in exchange for reading lessons with local white friends. Using 50 cents he saved from shining shoes, Frederick Douglass bought a very popular school book, The Columbian Orator, a collection of political essays, poems, and speeches by His Excellency George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Socrates. The book also contains a philosophical dialogue between a slave owner and a slave. Each point of the owner's argument in support of slavery is refuted by the slave, who eventually convinces the man to release him. This important book helped Frederick Douglass to fully articulate the case against slavery.
Vegan, 'cause we are elite.
Kind-hearted viewers, let's take a moment to pray that all beings in this planet are born free and remain equal in their dignity and rights. We'll be right back here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to the Honorable Frederick Douglass, An American Story, Part 1 of 2, as we continue to trace Frederick Douglass's footsteps from a life of slavery to becoming a prominent social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman. In 1836, Frederick was moved to the maritime settlement of Baltimore and began life as a laborer in a shipyard. He acquired the skill of vessel caulking, waterproofing ships that carried men and women of his own color daily to and from the seaport. Later in 1845, moved by the misery of those in servitude that he continued to witness all around him, he wrote,
I've sat on Kenner's Wharf at the foot of Philpott Street in Baltimore, and I've seen men and women chained and put on a ship to go to New Orleans, and I still hear their cries.
Frederick recalls standing on the bank begging for God's deliverance, and he vowed to run away. Frederick had now acquired the status of urban slave, which permitted him to live side by side with former slaves who had been freed. Influenced by the speeches in the Columbian Orator, he practiced his speaking style. Frederick also used his increased liberties to meet many like-minded individuals, including a freed woman, Anna Murray, who would later become his wife. Together, the couple developed a plan to resettle in the Free State of New York. Frederick traveled alone with false documents via Delaware and Philadelphia, disguised as a sailor and taking refuge along the way in a network of safe houses for escaped slaves known as the Underground Railroad. When Anna later joined him, they married, both taking the surname Douglas, inspired by the Walter Scott poem The Lady of the Lake. They then moved further north to make a home in New Bedford, Massachusetts. On July 5, 1852, in Rochester, New York, Frederick Douglass gave one of his most famous speeches, The Meaning of July 4th for the Negro. To end his speech, Frederick recited the poem, The Triumph of Freedom, written by famed abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison. As today is the 4th of July, we will close our program with his words.
The fiat of the Almighty, let there be light, has not yet spent its force. No abuse, no outrage, whether in taste, sport, or avarice, can now hide itself from the all-pervading light. Africa must rise and put on her yet unwoven garment. Ethiopia shall stretch out her hand unto God, in the fervent aspirations of William Lloyd Garrison. I say, and let every heart join in saying it, Godspeed the year of Jubilee, the wide world o'er, when from their galling chains set free, the oppressed shall vilely bend the knee, and wear the yoke of tyranny like brutes no more. That year will come, and freedom's reign to man his plundered rights again restore.
Playing as many games as I play throughout the course of a season, everything is about recovery. How fast can my body recover? And being plant-based, the recovery changed just like that. Chris Paul, vegan.
It's been a pleasure to have you, noble viewers, with us today. Join us again on Sunday, July 10th for part 2 of The Honorable Frederick Douglass, An American Story. Coming up next is Dr. Salima Rahman, pioneer female Afghan refugee and role model, part 1 of 2. May we always be immersed in heaven's blessings and the light of the divine.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/MOS.